safe and supported as they're accessing the services that we are providing for them. And then, for example, under the Dreams Initiative, we heard from one of the young people who talked about, who narrated an example of a colleague, of a peer who wanted to access services at the clinic. And then there was that barrier. Because at the end of the day, they wanted to access family planning. And then there was a nurse who talked about why are you engaging in sex at your age? So that's a barrier on its own. In creating an enabling environment for programs tailored for young people, we need to ensure that the spaces are youth-friendly, young people feel safe, young people feel supported to be able to provide those services and access those services in a meaningful way. Okay. And then also an example of how we're conducting the programs tailored for young people under Checkup 2 back home. There's a written policy that every staff needs to go through sensitivity training. That is really important in the sense that will ensure that we'll have staff on board who will be non-judgmental, who know to say young people need to be safe, who uphold confidentiality so that young people will be able to access services in a non-judgmental way in a youth-friendly hub. And then the other thing also is to ensure that when you can, as implementers, employ people that reflect the type of people that you are reaching out to. If, for example, you are reaching out to adolescent girls and young women, amongst the mentors, at least have people that are within that age band so that they'll be able to relate with one another in a meaningful way. So the second one is the feedback loops, okay? It is really important to get feedback from young people. One of the young people on the panel this morning mentioned about how it is really important to get feedback from them. And then Melissa also mentioned how through their structure, they get feedback, they give feedback to the implementer. And that way, it promotes a sense of ownership. You know, young people feel heard and part and parcel of the process. And then as Checkup 2, we have different feedback loops that are there. We have the beneficiary and stakeholders engagement meetings to ensure that we get feedback from the community members as well as from young people themselves so that we know how to, you know, meaningfully engage them. So the program, for example, the Dreams Initiative has evolved over time. It has led to program development because of the feedback that we've gotten from young people. It has enhanced program development, and then it has enhanced on tailoring programs that are unique, that are there to meet the unique needs of these young people. And then we have feedback loops, we have feedback slips dotted around all the service areas in our sites to ensure that, and suggestion boxes to ensure that young people are able to give us feedback about how they are receiving their services. Is it working for them? Is there something else we need to add on so that, they are helped in a holistic manner? And then lastly,
I'm going to ask you to speed it up because of our time. We give more time to the young people. Yeah?
Thank you so much. Yeah. And then finally, we as Checkup 2, we are employing the peer-to-peer model. It has worked. It has worked over time, and we are employing it, for example, under the anti-GBV champions. We use AGYW and ABYM, adolescent boys and young women. That way, they are able to pass on information related to gender-based violence in a relatable manner. And then we also have instructors. We have a component of the COSO tailoring business under the Dreams Initiative. So that component is a skills building in tailoring. So instead of employing an older, as in from inception, we had older people employed. So there was a barrier. We saw that numbers would be high and they start reducing. But with the coming up of the COSO peer-to-peer model, where girls that have graduated from COSO and benefited from the tailoring skills building under the Dreams Initiative, be the ones to be instructors, we have seen the numbers rising. And that way, they are able to relate with one another. They are able to see the impact from their friends who are even running tailoring businesses within those communities. That way, the peer-to-peer model has proven that it adds on to program acceptance, resilience, and the sustainability that we're here talking about. So that when we phase out, we'll leave behind a community that will be sustainable, young people that will support each other, young people that will give each other information and skills that will leave our communities thriving, even if we phase out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for those insights, peer-to-peer models. You have heard for yourselves how Checkup 2 has been involving young people. Because we are running out of time, we would like to move immediately to hear from Tiawana. You heard from DeBrain around, the underfunding of young people's programs, interventions, supporting them. How can we ensure that funding mechanisms are supportive of the time and resources required for engaging young people in a meaningful way?
Thank you so much, Patience, and thank you to JSI for this important session. I can see by the attendance here that this discussion is really important to the participants at ICASA. And I also want to thank our young people for their insights. We have heard you loud and clear.
Mm-hmm.
We have been having this conversation, I feel like, for a long time. And although progress has been made, not nearly enough progress has been made. We should not find ourselves having the same conversation in the next 2 years when ICASA ends. That said, I want to ensure you that USAID is deeply committed to engaging young people in more meaningful ways. And there are 6 concrete ways in which I think we and other donors can really support more meaningful engagement of youth. These include by supporting the express commitment that PEPFAR, with support from Ambassador Nkengasong, has made to centering youth, particularly adolescent girls and young women, in the design, development, implementation, and monitoring of the next generation of prevention activities. Implementing USAID's youth policy, which is grounded in the fundamental principles and beliefs, and I want to quote here that instead of viewing youth as